a chance to seal it. It's done. It's Georgie Kelly. Rotherham United's pathway back to the Championship is opening up.
Hello and welcome to New York Talk. This is the Rotherham United podcast. Thank you all for being with us and joining us on that latest episode. We want to start this episode by passing our condolences and thoughts to Her Majesty the Queen, who sadly passed away on the day of recording this episode. She's always been a strong supporter of sport in general. The iconic image of the World Cup being handed over by her in '66 is obviously a lasting sporting legacy and obviously a horse racing love and everything else. So we obviously want to start the episode by passing on thoughts, condolences to her family, now King Charles, and the country, really, as the country mourns the loss. Boys, do you want to add anything else in before we move along?
Well, there's not a lot else you can say, really, is there? It's a sad day, but we always knew it was going to come, didn't we? So I guess we move on.
Correct, Danny.
I think, like you say, being such an advocate of just sport in general, but with this being a football podcast, she had a very meaningful connection to football. I mean, she presented the first FA Cup in 1949, which is crazy to think about as how long ago it was. And like we say, she presented the Jules Rimet Trophy to Bobby Moore as well, and now her connection to football has carried on to Prince William. Because he's an Aston Villa fan and he's been to games and I think he's the head of the Football Association as well. But yeah, this might not transcribe to everybody else, but for me it just feels like a proper kick in the gut because, like you say, mate, we all knew it would come in, but it's just sort of hit us today. But yeah, it's just a sad time for the country, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely is. But we are British, so that means we have to carry on as the Brits do.
Yeah, stiff upper lip and all that.
As the Brits do, we carry on. So, Mick, Danny, thank you for being with us. Thank you for joining us. So, now we move on to the Rotherham United business of the podcast. Rotherham United have our first and only South Yorkshire derby this season. Nobody else fancies joining the Championship South Yorkshire derbies this season. So it's us and Sheffield United. Let's talk about the derby first, Mick, because I have absolutely loved all the Rotherham fans with the fake loving to wind up all the Wednesday fans. And I don't like Wednesday. None of us like Wednesday. But I'm so happy they exist to bite to all this nonsense. It's brilliant. Yeah,
it's bizarre, isn't it? It's... There's been a couple of times, a couple of tweets. There's been loads on Twitter that have really sort of exercised my humour over the last few days. There's a thin line between irony and stupidity, isn't there, really? And it would appear that the vast majority of Wednesday fans are falling down on the wrong side of that line. No understanding or concept whatsoever of irony, which I guess is what makes it funny. So yeah, I'll, as we all know, come Saturday afternoon, there will be no love lost between either club or either set of supporters. There'll be no kissing and canoodling in corner, will there? It will be all balls out, particularly the way that we've been playing this season. So, but in the meantime, in the run up to it, it just makes it a bit sweeter, doesn't it? It makes it a bit sweeter, and as you quite rightly point out, Matt, and I've done on a number of occasions over the past few weeks, this Championship lark's not for everybody, is it? It would appear.
Yeah.
What can you do?
Yeah. Thoughts on derby? We're not one of those Twitter accounts where they just rank clubs from top to bottom with the nonsense. We're not going to do that stuff. But in relation to the derby, Danny, it's South Yorkshire derby. We want to win this. It's not, we're not playing a friendly against Parkgate. We want to win this. We want to beat them. And there's there's no love between the clubs particularly. There's not. We don't hate them, but there's not like, oh, we're best mates, is it? It's odd that other clubs see that.
Yeah, I think the reason, certainly in the current world, why there isn't like total animosity to Sheffield United is because they did help us out during our financial struggles. Like I sent a couple of players across, I believe, and we gave them a song when they had no songs. So, because the Greasy Chip Putty is a Rotherham song because originally it was a night out in Romarsh, but fair play to them, they've actually made it sound a little bit better. But for me, this derby is definitely an on-the-day animosity. Like, as soon as you're in the ground, that's it. You're absolutely against each other. Quite similar to us and Barnsley as well.
Yeah,
we don't particularly like Barnsley, but we don't dislike them at the same time. Same with Sheffield United, we don't dislike them until we're in the ground against them. But for me, I just want to win the game because then I get bragging rights in family. Because I feel my dad's side of the family are Sheffield United fans, including himself, and just gets bragging rights. I was on the wind up with him saying, "Oh well, we scored 4 past Reading in the first half. It took you the whole game." So the wind up has slowly started.
Yeah,
but yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I agree on the derbies. I don't particularly like Donny. I don't really like Chesterfield and all that South Yorkshire. And we obviously don't like Wednesday. These are derbies without being sort of big ones, if that sort of makes sense. I think I agree. United and Barnsley are very sort of similar levels for me, in terms of that. So we've sold out as allocation as well. I was really surprised looking at when the prices got announced, Mick, £33 or whatever it were. I didn't think we'd sell out them all, to be honest with you. So I think I'm a little bit surprised and I suppose a bit proud that there's still 2,500 or whatever it is. Rotherham fans still making a bucket load of noise in that way. And
it's a difficult one for me because, I am as well. I feel exactly the same as you. It's great that we sold out our allocation, but so we should, I guess, because it's a local derby. I'm still really, really fed up about the pricing. And that is the reason I'm not going. It's not a protest or anything like that. I just don't want to pay it. I'm not sort of kicking off and saying, we shouldn't be paying that amount of money, but we shouldn't be paying that amount of money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's great. It's great that people are able to afford it and are going to make some noise for us, but still sticks it through quite a lot, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree. So there's obviously a few different parts. Let's do Ref Watch. While we've got Mick in the light of his Welsh car park.
Yeah,
I think we're probably the only podcast in the world that can say we come live to you from a Welsh car park.
I think so.
Other than the Welsh car park podcast, if there is.
Well, that sounds like it's something very different.
That's a very, very niche market, isn't it?
I think the subject matter might be slightly different as well.
Yeah. So, Mr. Keith Stroud, as I don't know how, but he is still refereeing. This will be his 18th season of professional football, and he's still only managed to get to the Championship. He must be doing something right or wrong. I'm not sure which it is. He last refereed us in the Championship 2 years ago, in the COVID season, Bournemouth away. Now, this was the game, if anybody remembers, the game live on telly away at Bournemouth when Jefferson Lerma. What's the word?
Cheated
and threw himself around for 90 minutes.
Unbelievable scenes that.
I think I remember when Wiles got booked for one of Jefferson Lerma's dives.
He did, yes.
But yeah, this is the guy we've got in charge. Like, he's still refereeing. We've not got a great record. We've won 6 of the 14 games we've refereed us, but I think we've lost the last 6 or something like that whilst he's been refereeing us. He's refereed Sheffield United 23 times. They won 11 of those 23 times. He also not to bring up this might bring up a bit of PTSD for anybody that was there, but he was also the referee of the Swansea game where we lost 4-3 in 2018 at the Easter weekend. Handball from, I think, Kyle Norton. It's still up there as one of the worst refereeing performances I can remember. Mick can have Gavin Ward all he wants. I'll have Keith Stroud. Thank you very much. A shock. He's got it in his locker to have, and not just against us, Mick. I remember the playoffs. I think the Swansea against Swansea. I think I might have been locked down, where he sent somebody off. I think for Brentford, and it got overturned because it was a horrendous decision. He's got it right in his locker to have an absolute shocker. This guy.
Yeah, we could do with him having his locker, having it in his locker to have a decent game.
Yeah.
I obviously was followed football for a long time, and he's been around football for a long time, as you quite rightly point out, 18 seasons, and everybody across all 92 or 72 football league clubs shudder when they hear his name. It's up there with Trevor Kettle. It is appalling, but we've got no choice. At least we're not playing Bournemouth, I suppose, is the upside. But the stat that you quite rightly pointed out there, the last 6 games for Rotherham that he's refereed, we've lost. The last 6 games he's refereed for Sheffield United, they've won. So the writing's on the wall, isn't it? It's horrible. I hate doing this because I genuinely, hand on heart, I hate doing this. I hate criticising people for doing the job that they're paid to do when I wouldn't do that job, and I wouldn't. However, it's just a level of competency, isn't it? And this man shines through as being incompetent season after season after season. And yet he still gets given games, and games of importance. Local derbies. Well, every game's important, obviously, to each individual club. But yeah, well, all we can do is just sit back and hope against hope that he's able to have a decent performance. I don't know why I said that, because we know that's not going to happen, don't we?
We do know that's we do.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, on the positive, he did sort of fun fact is he did referee in the playoff final, semi-final against Preston in 13-14. Some sort of positive. Danny, I don't know what else we can add to what Mick just said. It's strange to me that somebody's been refereeing for 18 years in professional levels and is still only a championship referee. That tells me a lot about him, I think.
That he hasn't put in the strongest of performances to get promoted up a level. But I don't know, it might be another one that has his collar felt by Howard Webb. We never know. But if you notice, like the 2 possibly worst referee performances we've had, or at least questionable ones we've had this season, we've actually got positive results out of. Because we had Gavin Ward against Birmingham, who I swear if it were 0-0, he would have played until Birmingham scored. But because we were 2-0 up, he's gone, right, we'll finish 5 seconds before the actual end of added time. Anyway. And then the 1-1 against Watford, where the referee had an absolute stinker of a first half. So I think it also proves that despite referees, being referees from time to time, we don't rise to it. We sort of play our game and get on with it. And that could potentially see us over the line at Bramall Lane, where we play our game and not the ref's game and not Sheffield United's game. Because even Warner's been quoted as saying they are one of the best teams in this division, which, to be fair, they are. Yeah. But if we play our game, we'll frustrate them. Look at how we played against Preston. We played our game, frustrated them. Same with QPR, Birmingham, Reading. Just keep our heads. Don't rise to anything that Mr. Stroud decides to get wrong, say. And just concentrate on ourselves, and we should be all right.
Hopefully so. The little man in charge in the middle. Bless him. Let's move along to the game itself and how we think we're going to set up. As you mentioned then, Danny, they are probably the best team in the league. They certainly had the best start in the league. They look the most settled out of all the teams. I know they lost to Watford, but they were probably unlucky to lose that game. Only 1-0. This is the test. You go away to potentially the best team in the league. You can't go there scared, obviously, but you've got to go there wary, and you've got to go there at 100%. Otherwise, you will come away with absolutely zero.
Yeah, exactly. like I said, play our game and we should be all right. But yeah, going to Bramall Lane is never easy. I think they're 4 for 4 at home so far this season. Like we've managed to stay unbeaten at home, but we're not 4 for 4 unbeaten at home, which is some achievement. And Bramall Lane is a fortress for Sheffield United. Maybe not in the last season in the Premier League, but certainly in the Championship. Yeah, it is. It will be a fortress for them this season, and we just need to go with the mentality of we're not scared of them. You know, you might be one of the big boys in the league this season, but we're not scared of you, and we'll play 110% because we've had a nice rest from the Watford game, so we should be a lot a lot more rested, if you like. And hopefully, fingers crossed and everything crossed, it'll play into our favour. Because after the last performance at Bramall Lane, which I think was the 2-0 loss when Volks got sent off, I think we played well until Volks got sent off. So we need to take the mentality of, right, we're probably better as a squad than that team was. And it took a sending off for us to lose. So take that mentality of, right, we're a better squad, and we could probably do them if everything works into our favour.
Yeah, I agree. Mick, thoughts just before we go into specifics on all of and things like that. It's a proper test. We know Watford at home was a test, but we were at home. This is a proper test.
Yeah, it is, absolutely. And as everybody's pointed out, they are a very, very good side. But we are not the side that were up here last time in the Championship. We've got far, far more in our armoury. I feel as though the little bit I've seen Sheffield United this season, they play similarly to us. They are quite an aggressive side. They like to get stuck in. So it should be a really interesting game, assuming that it goes ahead, obviously. It's going to be a toughie, and it is going to be a proper test. And I'll take a draw right now. I'll take a draw. But if we're 1-0 up on 89 minutes, I'll be gutted to get one. But it's going to be the first real test that we've had, I think. The only game that we've lost this season so far was because of our performance, not necessarily the team that we played. Although they played well, it was down to us that we lost that game. So if we're in our A game, Sheffield United, I know they've been in one come 5 o'clock Saturday.
Our record at Bramall Lane is truly terrible. 0 wins since 1980. That's 9 games without a win. We've lost our last 3 in a row. 2-0 Danny mentioned. I think it was the 1-0 where Mike Dean gave a penalty to Harry Maguire very, very late on. I think there was obviously another one in there as well. Talking about poor refereeing performances at Bramall Lane.
Our record against Sheffield United is like the exact opposite of what it is against Sheffield Wednesday. Sheffield Wednesday, we do well at Hillsborough, but shocking at home. But with Sheffield United, we do good at home, but shocking away. Can we just find some middle ground, please?
No, absolutely. Hopefully we can change that this weekend. We will see. We'll talk about going to players and how I think we're going to set up. We're going to start by giving a huge congratulations to Richard Wood, who has been nominated for Player of the Month in the Championship. By the time you're listening to this, it will have been announced whether he has won or not. We don't know. So I'm either very happy he's won it or devastated that he's not won it. Delete is appropriate. Again, Nick, we say this every week about Richard Wood. I don't know what to say. But he 100% deserves a nomination for Player of the Month because he has been a rock at both ends of the pitch.
Yeah, he's been outstanding, outstanding. And we keep saying it, don't we? But he said it himself. He's in the peak of his career. He's at the peak of his career at 37 in terms of his performance and his fitness. So he will go on. He will go on for the rest of the season. And again, beginning of the season, we all said, he'll not be playing all 46 games, even if he's fit. Well, who knows? I won't be surprised. I would not be at all surprised and he will be a key part to this game on Saturday. No question about that. So it's great for him. It's great for him, but it's all down to his own hard work, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is 100%. And the fact with a week's gap between games is obviously a huge plus point for somebody like Woody and Peltier and people like that. Sometimes need to manage the minutes. So he's going to come in, Danny. Bishop was going to start in the centre of the back three, unless he gets injured on Friday, which is obviously unlikely. I don't think he trained. Yeah, I don't think they train that hard anyway because they don't mind you. Cameron Humphries is fit. Cameron Humphries is back and available for selection. Grant Hall might not be. It looks like that he is a bit hit and miss, so let's assume he's not. Are you chucking Cameron Humphries straight back in?
Oh, good question. I mean, it depends on how much training he's got under his belt from this week, because we knew he'd be in contention for the Watford game, but didn't make the squad, I believe. I've slept since then. No, he didn't make the squad. So it just depends on what his conditioning has been like in training and if Warney dares risk him, to be fair. I think Wood, Harding and Peltier have done a solid job as a back three. And I think we'd probably not risk Humphries. He'd probably make the bench, I think, and maybe come on for Peltier or Wood later in the game. But me personally can't see him starting. But speaking of Woody, can we just backtrack ever so slightly about his Player of the Month nomination? Have you read the citation that the EFL have put out for him?
No.
Have you? Right, this is brilliant. So they've put 3 goals in 4 starts and a late substitute appearance will be a fine return for a striker. Throwing the 3 clean sheets would help to keep his day job as a defender, plus the fact he's 37 and it becomes outstanding.
So he should win the award.
Yeah, that is. Someone's had fun with that, haven't they?
Yeah. There's only one winner. I don't know who else is nominated. I know that Hull striker's nominated. I can't remember his name now. Colombian, I think he is. He should win. He won't win because he's Richard Wood. It's not very fashionable. But he should be winning the Player of the Month award. Mick, are you going with Danny? Peltier, probably Harding, straight back in there, or do you want to see a bit more mobility, maybe with Humphries instead of maybe Harding?
It depends. I mean, I'd like to see him. I'd like to see Humphries in. If he's got some training and he's fit, fit, I'd put him straight back in personally. Leave Peltier there, and I hate to say this, but I'd probably drop Wes down onto the bench. He's the kind of player that will be really, really beneficial to us from an attacking standpoint. I know I accept he's a central defender, but from an attacking standpoint, he's key to that defence. So if he's fit, get him in for me.
Fair enough. Any questions on fullbacks, Danny? I assume we're going to see Norton Cuffy and Bramall again. I certainly would go that way. Yeah,
I'd go that way as well. Purely because Bramall was very, very good down that left-hand side. I know I've sung his praises on the previous podcast and on Twitter, so thank you for clipping that. But yeah, Bramall was immense against Watford. Norton Cuffy hasn't really put a foot wrong since coming into the team. So yeah, just stick with them two for me.
Just talking about Woody, I don't know whether you've seen that. Obviously, as you're aware, I'm here in Anglesey. I'm in Wales. You are aware that I have seen him on the beach at Anglesey, having a bit of a rest. I'm just putting a photograph up there on screen for anybody that's watching on the YouTube. There he is, just having a little bit of a sunbathe on the beach at Red Wharf Bay. There's the lad.
Yeah, if you want to follow me, it's on Mixed Twitter as well. If you've got to Mixed Twitter, it appears to be just what actually is it?
Come on, I'm proud of that.
For you, it's quite good.
What? Oh. Whatever.
Oh, dear. It's nice to see him relaxing.
It's Richard Wood's magic art.
Okay.
I believe it's actually some sort of buoy, some sort of navigation buoy, but it does look like Woody's magic.
Oh, come on. You're just taking away all the fun out of it now. You're just sucking all the life out of it. Gordon Bennett, look at pair on you.
I mean, look at it this way, Mick. Richard Wood would still head it, wouldn't he? If it was coming towards him, a fair
absolutely.
clip, he would still head it, wouldn't he? And he'd probably score with it.
Last time I make any jokes for you lot, flipping it. That's how it's going to be received.
Let's move on to the midfield. Now, I want to pick up, we talked about Ben Wiles a lot previously, and I want to talk about this. We'll put my tinfoil hat on and have a conversation about this. So I was reading Paul Davis' article about, the Paul Warren article about his contract situation. Got plenty of other stuff in there. And he talks briefly about the contract situation with Barlas, Wiles and Chio. And he talks about the conversations, will he be able to keep any of them by offering a new contract? And the quote from Warren that I stuck out for me was, whether I'm able to convince them, I don't honestly know. For obvious reasons, it might be raw with one of them. Now, I probably might be reading too much into this, and maybe Paul Warren maybe used maybe not the right word he thought he might have used, Danny. But that says to me that one of them had their heart set on a little bit of a move. Am I reading too much into that? Is that what you get from that as well?
I mean, the tinfoil hat brigade would say yes. Like, it's a bit raw with one of them, which you could interpret as being Wiles, because it was fairly public knowledge that Burnley offered a substantial fee for him that we turned down. I
should add into there, the paragraph before that quote, Paul Davis writes, Championship pace setters were prepared to pay more than £2 million for Wiles and offer him substantial wages, but their bid was rejected, followed by that quote.
Right. And if you're saying pace setters, then it's not Burnley, because Burnley aren't top, are they?
They're in the playoff area.
Yeah, so it would actually be Sheffield United. It would technically be Sheffield United if he's talking about pace setters, which sort of makes sense because there was the initial rumour that Sheffield United were after Wiles, and I did hear a little rumour about them offering $2 million for him. But that
it is, but it's a Championship pace setters Burnley.
So right.
Burnley.
Right. Why's Burnley pace setters? They're in playoffs. They don't. Right, you would say pace setters are the team that's at the top and running away with it. But anyway, so with Wiles, like I was saying, it was fairly public knowledge that Burnley offered roughly 2-3 million for him, and we said no. And a club like Burnley, with the parachute payments and stuff like that, they would be able to offer more money. So if Wiles has had contact with his agent saying Burnley want you, they're going to offer you this much money, and they're going to offer Rotherham this much money, and then he's found out we've turned that money down and he was potentially getting 10-11 grand a week out of it. Potentially even more. And then we come to the table and offer him 10 grand, just as a peak example. Then it might feel a little bit raw. Like, if he'd accepted that offer, I could have gone to Burnley and be earning nearly double that. But it just depends on Wiles' mindset himself. Does he want to stay at Rotherham with a bit more money and be more or less certified starter week in, week out, or go somewhere like Burnley where he's competing with someone like Scott Twine, who isn't a certified starter every week, but he's on more money? That is the dilemma that Wiles has to work out for himself. But just to bring it back to the transfer target, I told you Chio would stay this window. I told you all that he'd stay this window, and you all laughed at me. So always going to Swansea. No, behave.
It just sort of feeds into the Wiles in not looking very happy. Wiles didn't look very happy for a couple of games, and it just sort of feeds into that. Mick, I know you're not going to buy into this, are you?
Yeah, that may be the case, but it's a learning curve. He's a young lad, as Ben Wiles, as we keep saying. But he's got to learn. The club comes first, and if somebody's going to offer a derisory amount for a player of his quality, he's got to understand that we're not going to accept it. It's difficult for him. It's tough for him, but that's life. The only thing he can do is improve, play better, play well, develop more, and find a club that's going to offer us more money for him. So that's his only option. It may mean that he might decide not to renew his contract, which would be which would be a shame, but that's how it is, isn't it? You know, for us to have let him go for £2 million would have been foolish. It would have been foolish. The club have actually absolutely nailed the colours to the mast and said to say that we are not accepting stupid money for our best players, and that's the end of that. So he's got to suck it up, I'm afraid. Get his head back into gear and start fulfilling his potential, and then he'll get his big money move.
Hey, if he goes between now and January and scores 4 or 5 goals, gets 4 or 5 assists, you can add another £5,000 to them wages, can't he? So it's down to him to between now and then earn more money. And if somebody comes in January for the right money, he'll go and earn his money. But he's got to put if the performance continue as they are, his value is only going to slightly drop in it. So he's got to get back on the horse, so to speak.
Do we know if Wiles has got the option of another year in his contract?
Yes. Wiles has essentially 2 years left.
Right. Okay. So that essentially puts the ball into the club's court. So we can offer him a new contract and say, right, basically how much. I think it should be a case of how much do you want? At least for Wiles, Chio, and Barlas, it should be how much do you want? And if it's within reason, you agree to it. If it's astronomical and we can't match it, then we'll go right. We'll renew it for another year, and we'll get money out of you the following summer. So that is essentially a win-win situation for us. We can either get a new deal out of them and tie them down for a bit longer, or we can just extend it by a year and get at least some money for him, which I believe is what we did with. Who did we do it for? We extended it by a year and then got money for it. Who was it?
Volks and Danny Ward.
And yeah, that's it. Volks and Danny Ward. So yeah, ball's in our court with that one, which is good to hear.
Yeah, I think we're in a situation where it's very unlikely that Ben Wiles will start the 2023 season with Rotherham United. I think that's very unlikely. But between now and then, it's a crucial time in his career. If he doesn't do anything, Burnley aren't going to come back in for him. But if he goes and performs like we know he can, the Premier League clubs might come and knock it in January. If his performance is that good, realistically, Burnley aren't far away from the Premier League club. So it's such a crucial period in his career. Or it could be a crucial period in his career. And if he does well, benefits us as well, doesn't it? It's a win-win.
Hey, we might be a Premier League club next year.
Possible. I'll pick up a win on Saturday.
This time next year, Rodney.
We'll be millionaires.
Wiles does a connection to Sheffield United. Very famously, his grandfather, am I right in saying? He's the grandson of Eddie Coquelin, potentially. Pretty sure that's not how you say it.
That sounds right.
It's as close as I'm going to be able to get, I think. So there is that link to Sheffield United, which I'm sure. I think it's the first time Wiles has ever played against Sheffield United. From that point of view. Well, so my roundabout question is, Mick, are you starting Ben Wiles based on his recent performances?
Difficult, because his recent performances have not been great. I probably am, but I would say it's possibly his last chance saloon at the moment before he gets a spot on bench for a couple of games. So, but yeah, I think I'd probably start him.
Okay, Danny, would you like to see him, or would you like to see Jimmy Lindsay get a go?
I've been asking myself this question today, actually, whilst I've been at work, because I've been away from the training ground, just doing my own jobs. And it's like, do you start Wiles? But he's like, he was brought off semi-early against Watford because, and they brought Lindsay on, and it's just like, do you just give Lindsay that chance now, But then I started thinking about the situations, like Billy Sharp's just come back from injury for Sheffield United, so he will most likely be on the bench for them and will most likely come on later on. So it's like, right, Sheffield United have got their guy, so should we have Wiles on the bench as being our guy? and that could be a very interesting scenario that plays out. I do agree with Mick. It could be last chance for Ben Wiles starting against Sheffield United, but me personally, I would put him on the bench and bring him on as an impact player in the second half potentially.
Okay. You wouldn't start him and you'd bring him on?
Yeah, I'd bring him on later in the game, maybe about 60, 65 minutes, depending on the score.
Interesting. Could you see anybody else jump in the queue, Mick, to start in midfield? Or is it just sort of Lindsay that's potentially could be the one?
I think Jamie Lindsay's your obvious replacement in there, isn't he? I can't think of anybody else off the top of my head who would fit into that berth. To be honest with you, so the Jamie Lindsay if it's not Ben Wiles.
Fair enough. But Wiles has played against Sheffield United. He played the 90 minutes when we lost during the Will Bolt's red card game. He did play the 90 minutes in that one. So not his first appearance against Sheffield United, for what it's worth, which is nothing. Barlas of Rathbone, Danny, not far off the first two names on the team sheet at the minute, aren't they?
No, not at all. Especially Rathbone with his pace and Barlas's distribution. Although we could chuck Scott High in there as well. He came on and did very well against Watford.
The wild card, wasn't it?
Yeah, that would catch him out, I think. But yeah, I agree with you, Matt. Rathbone and Barlas are more or less the first names on the team sheet at the minute, probably alongside Victor as like your set in stone players, if you like.
Yeah, I agree. The Swedish national team hasn't been announced yet. Keep your eyes on it because it'll be soon. Victor may or may not be included in that. Our campaign doesn't. Nobody seems to nick a note to our campaign to get Victor in the Swedish national squad. But you never know. The Swedes may have been listening. They may be ready to get him involved. I don't see why not. He's been that good. I think he deserves a call up. May even be out next time we record. Who knows? We'll keep an eye on that. Notifications are on for the Swedish Twitter account. Mick, strikers. Now, again, becomes a little bit of not a difficult conversation, but a difficult thought process moving for Warney. We struggle against teams where we can't go direct a little bit because you can go quick, but when the ball comes out to Chew and Washington, it's not going to be held up. If they can't run onto it, that's sort of it. And there are going to be long periods of this game where we're not going to have the ball. So what do you think? Would you like to see Tommy's, or Tommy's clearly hasn't been match fit? Would you still like to see him? Is it just stick with what you've got? Better than Washington used to play for United, so he'll be up for this game as well.
Yeah, stick with what you've got. Again, from what the little I've seen of Sheffield United this season, they don't particularly strike me as a possession-based team. I don't know whether they are. I might be way wide of the mark with that, but from what I've seen of them, they don't really strike me as being that kind of team. So I think we will see more of the ball than we have done against the likes of Watford and certainly Swansea. You need that pace up front with Chio and Washington because he's got that pace and work rate as well. So I can't see him changing those front two starting in the starting lineup anyway. I think they'll remain the same for me anyway.
Yeah, I would go the same way, Danny.
Interesting dilemma, like you say, with playing up top and those two struggling against direct teams. I think for not simplicity, but because we know how to operate that way, I would keep Shio and Wash in there. But then, local derby, simplicity and, and like the things that they used to just go out the window, don't they? So, I don't know. I honestly don't know. For me, I'd keep it the same because we know that.
Yeah.
But imagine if we just threw the wild card of, right, we'll just chuck Kelly and Ogbeni and just for laugh, and Kelly gets his head on a ball that everyone thought was lost in the 6-yard box and he clatters Billy Sharp in the process, like away and erupt, wouldn't it? But yeah, I think one will be clever about it and do it the way that we know how to do it, and he won't go wild card with it. But I don't know, when it comes into the second half, he might go little bit, right, let's shake up a little bit and try and disrupt how they're playing, which we could then see Kelly being introduced. But I really want to see Kelly and Washington play alongside each other. I thought in pre-season and in cup games, they looked really good playing next to each other. Because Kelly sort of runs off the shoulder and is a bit of a bulldozer, whereas Wash is more clever about his runs, but they sort of complement each other weirdly. But I think for that situation to work, you'd have to take Chio out of the occasion. And with Chio's pace and his determination to win a ball and how he draws fouls, you can't really take him out of that equation.
Yeah.
Which is frustrating, but yeah, anyway. But yeah, for me, Ogbeni Washington up front on Saturday.
Yeah. Fair enough. I think we all agree on that. Right, let's go through a couple of predictions as well. Remember, me and Danny got it correct against Watford. Make use of 2-1, so unfortunately correct. I will go first actually because I've spoken to Sheffield United podcast and I put to the same prediction. Not a positive one. I think we're going to lose 2-0. So my apologies. Mick?
I'm going to be positive, or more positive. I think it's going to be 2 apiece. I think it'll be 2-2.
So you think the team that don't concede many goals in us will score 2, will concede 2, and the team that have only conceded 1 at home this season will concede double that?
Yeah, that's me thinking. I've no basis for it whatsoever, and I'll tell you what, I'd like to be as far away from the mark as I possibly could, and it being 0-0, but I'll stick with 2-2.
Okay, Danny.
Can I be naughty and do an either way bet?
No.
Because I would say 1-0 either way, but right. I'll nail my colours to mast, and I will say 1-0, complete and utter word I can't say, 1-0 win for Rotherham United.
I like your style.
That word that starts with an S and ends in house.
Nicely done, you like it, mate. Like it.
That sort of win. Georgie Kelly will score with his knee or something stupid, and we'll win 1-0.
I think it'll go one of 2 ways. I think if we can get an early goal, we are going to make life so difficult for Sheffield United. So difficult. And I think if we get that early goal, put them, make them under pressure upon them, so under their own weight almost, I think we could go on and win that game. If we don't get an early goal and don't put under pressure early, I think it's going to be a long afternoon.
Now, see, I'm the opposite. I think it'll be very similar to the Preston game, where we'll be under the cosh for quite a lot of the game, and we'll just get a lucky counter-attack and we'll capitalise on it. I've got visions of that happening for some reason. It's like when we played Wednesday at their place. We were on the back foot for the majority of that game, and then we got the lucky chance going forward, and Freddie tapped it in with whatever body part it was. Then we were under pressure again, and then we got a lucky break again. I don't think we'll get as many lucky breaks against Sheffield United, but I don't know. I just have this vision of being under the cosh and facing about 15 shots at goal, and then we score with our single shot on target the whole game. I've had visions about it. I say that we'll probably lose about 4-0 now, won't we?
Yeah, that's our predictions on that. We should sort of say we're recording this on Thursday evening. There's a chance these fixtures may not even go ahead. You may have listened to this entire 45-minute episode and the game might be cancelled. They're expecting an announcement Friday morning. Now, Mike Keegan of the Daily Mail is the repeated view is apparently that the games are almost as a mark of respect this weekend. Difficult circumstances, I suppose, to talk about. But I would like to see the games go ahead. I think that would be good and proper. Again, I said at the start of this episode, very British thing for everything to go ahead and continue. There's certain things we all would like to see. I think you mentioned, Danny, I think Kev Johnson mentioned national anthem before kick-off. So there's hundreds of thousands of football fans around the country singing the national anthem sort of one last time. I think would be a great tribute. I think it would be brilliant. But I think they will lead towards postponement, which is a shame, to be honest with you. But there we are. Anything else that you want to mention on that topic, guys, or any other topic? Because I think we just about covered everything in what feels like record time.
I can't see the games going ahead, to be honest with you. I can't see that the EFL would or the FA would allow anything as radical as that. I think they'll just try and be as traditional as they possibly can, which is a shame, really. In my view, I think they should go ahead. I think the singing of the national anthem at the beginning of each game would be a fantastic tribute, and would allow stuff to continue as well at the same time. But we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely.
Again, I'm the opposite. I can see them going ahead. I really can. Because, like I say, if we keep it traditional, then technically they should go ahead. Because I believe the Queen's dad, which one was he? Was it George the 7th or the 8th?
George something.
Yeah. that geezer. He passed away, I believe, in the close season in 52. So obviously there were no games to affect. But the Queen's granddad, who was another George, I believe passed away during the 38-39 season. And I
36. 36, I think I've seen.
Whichever year it was. And I believe the fixtures carried on. Because my troll through Rotherham United's past fixtures, there's no big gaps, especially towards the end of the 30s, until you get to 39-40 when the war stopped it. So leaning off of that, I think they will go ahead. But like you say, with potentially a 2-minute silence, black armbands, the national anthem being sung before the game, and if it isn't sung before the games, if they go ahead, then message out to any Sheffield United fans who have watched this and all Rotherham fans who have watched it, get it going at Bramall Lane. Get it going at some point during the game before kick-off, whenever. Get it going. Because I want a similar noise to the Euro 96 national anthem levels. If it goes ahead, of course, which it's very up in the air at the minute. But we've seen the Europa League games go ahead tonight, and they haven't been called off. West Ham, the London Stadium, they were in full voice about it. I believe Man United were away, and they had a pause for it as well. So
there is an issue, and again, this is logistical. Maybe not proper to talk about it, but there's a game tomorrow night. There's a game Friday night. They can't call that game off the day of because do you know what I mean? There's so many things.
I can see
Norwich
them.
against Burnley. Norwich will be up there already. Norwich will be in Burnley.
Yeah, exactly. I can see them potentially postponing the game that's before the funeral, which I believe for us is Middlesbrough. I can see them postponing that because, the whole 10 days to the funeral, and the funeral is, I think, going to be on the Sunday. So I can see them calling off Middlesbrough. Fair enough. But I think because the Queen passing away on the Thursday, and then there's a game Friday, Saturday, etc., could see them stay on, and then they do it more for the funeral because the funeral's like the big event, if you like. Yeah, because I think if your employers allow it, you can have that day off if you are meant to be working that day, and I think that's how the rules work. But we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to see what the EFL say Friday morning. But again, if you've stuck around for nearly 50 minutes of us talking waffle about Sheffield United, and then the hour after this goes live, we've postponed all the games for 9 days or whatever the rumoured amount is, then unlucky, but oh well.
Yeah, there we are. So yeah, thank you all for joining us on this episode. Not an easy episode to do, but we carry on. We do carry on. Good luck and safe short journey to everybody going to Sheffield United on Sunday. Don't hug too many Sheffield United fans. Make sure you're not skipping down the street. So Wednesday fan might see you. They'll see you and they'll photograph you.
Yeah, avoid London Road because that's where all the hugs are getting dished out. And I hear there might be a fella doing half and half scarves as well. So best avoid London Road. Just saying.
Please do subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, on iTunes, wherever you're listening or watching to us. Please do subscribe. Follow us on Twitter. If you haven't already, we'll tweet out of any updates of fixture nonsense that may or may not happen over the next 24 to 48 hours. Mick, unfortunately, will be back in Rotherham for the next episode. So this is a final episode from the car park in Wales. You have to bid farewell to the car park for us, Mick.
I will do, don't worry.
Thank you. And Danny, It's a pleasure, as always. If anybody's not checked Danny's pie reviews, they are up on the shorts section of our YouTube page. So if you want to have a look at Danny's pie reviews from Preston, go on, Sunderland.
Preston, Sunderland and QPR.
QPR. Do we have a front runner for the season so far?
Sunderland's pie was very good. A little bit spicy for me, so it got knocked down, but Sunderland's leading the way with 7.
Like it. A pleasure, everybody. Hope you're well, and we'll see you on Sunday. Thank you very much.
Ravel, vicious, but brilliant! Mule with it, Wood's got round the back, and Richie Wood has done it again! The magic man has come up with another trick! Well, here's a chance to seal it! It's done! It's Georgie Kelly!